Good evening, you're now with me, Henny Gray, for TVS Nightline, and here are the headlines for tonight. Sarawak will continue to advocate for the rights of stateless children. Debate over Bakute and canteen operations should not be prolonged. An Israeli army launched an operation around Gaza's largest hospital, AL-SHIFA. The Israeli army today launched an operation around Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa, with witnesses reporting airstrikes on the devastated neighborhood where it is located. The witnesses in Gaza City told the AFP news agency that they also saw tanks surround the hospital site. The military in a statement said Israeli soldiers are currently conducting a precise operation in the area of the Shifa hospital where tens of thousands of Palestinians displaced by the war have taken shelter.
The statement added that the operation is based on intelligence information indicating the use of the hospital by senior Hamas terrorists. The Hamas government media office in Gaza condemned the operation, saying that the storming of the Al-Shifa medical complex with tanks, drones, and weapons and shooting inside it is a war crime. The Gaza Health Ministry said it had received calls from people near the hospital site who claimed there were dozens of casualties. According to the Israeli military, troops were instructed on the importance of operating cautiously, as well as on the measures to be taken to avoid harm to the patients, civilians, medical staff, and medical equipment at Al-Shifa. The statement also said Arabic speakers had been deployed in order to facilitate dialogue with the patients remaining in the hospital. It added there is no obligation for the patients and medical staff to evacuate. Following its November 15 operation on Al-Shifa, the Israeli military said it had found weapons and other military equipment hidden in the site, claims Hamas has denied. According to the UN, 155 health clinics in the Gaza Strip have been damaged since the war began.
Meanwhile, Jabalia, a city located in the north of Gaza, has received its first aid delivery after about 4 months. According to the Anadolu agency, the Israeli army permitted 9 trucks loaded with humanitarian aid to enter the northern Gaza Strip, encompassing Jabalia, Beit Hanun, and Beit Lahia. The aid, consisting of flour, rice, canned food, and sugar, reached the Jabalia refugee camp under the supervision of the Gaza Government Security Services and in collaboration with Palestinian tribes. The consignment was then deposited in warehouses managed by the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 27 individuals in Gaza have succumbed to malnutrition and dehydration due to the Israeli blockade. Over 31,600 Palestinians, predominantly women and children, have lost their lives in the enclave, with nearly 73,700 others sustaining injuries amid extensive destruction and shortages of essential items since Israel's military offensive on Gaza on October 7th. As a result of the Israeli conflict, 85% of Gaza's population have been displaced internally, grappling with a severe shortage of food, clean water, and medicine. And as per the United Nations, 60% of the enclave's infrastructure has suffered damage or destruction.
The debate on the recognition of bakute as a national heritage dish and the operation of canteens during Ramadan must not be dragged out any further. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the enhancement of national policies should be prioritized instead, stressing that this issue demands collective attention from all stakeholders.
Bincang masalah ni kan, pelaburan bagaimana gini, tapi balik Malaysia punya bakute buka kantin sekolah bulan Ramadan. Itu pula jadi itu hangat seolah-olah itu hidup matinya kita, maruah kita. Sudah tahu. Inilah keadaan dia. So, jadi saya harap benarlah supaya masyarakat, terutama penjawat awam, bantu kita bersama, keluarga kita dan masa depan kita.
In February this year, bak kut teh, a traditional Chinese soup, was officially recognized as a national heritage dish. Bak is the Hokkien word for meat, but bak kut teh is typically made with pork. The recognition of bak kut teh as a national heritage dish was criticized by some parties, including UMNO Youth Chief Dr. Muhammad Akmal Saleh, who said it was insensitive to Muslims. Meanwhile, the debate over canteen operations during Ramadan also intensified when the Minister of Education, Fadlina Sidek, said that school authorities would maintain canteen operations despite a decrease in the number of pupils lunching during Ramadan.
The Sarawak government, through the Special Committee on Citizenship Status (JKKSK), will continue to advocate for stateless children in the state by expediting the approval process. Minister of Women, Childhood and Community Wellbeing Development Sarawak, Datuk Sri Fatimah Abdullah, said it was crucial to ensure these children have access to education and secure their future.
She noted that the situation becomes even more challenging when parents are forced to pay foreigner fees due to having no proper documentation for their citizenship. According to her, the issue is crucial to ensure that affected children can enjoy their fundamental rights, especially in education.
Satu ialah berkaitan pendidikan. Dan dah banyak kita lihat disebabkan kesukaran ini, kanak-kanak tidak bersekolah. Di luar bandar kita lihat mereka jadi akses kepada pendidikan itu jadi ianya tidak ada dapat tidak dinikmati oleh mereka, sedangkan pendidikan itu adalah hak asasi seorang kanak-kanak.
For the record, the Special Committee on Citizenship Status was reactivated with the approval of the Minister of Home Affairs, Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail, under Article 15A of the Federal Constitution at the state level last year. At the same time, the Sarawak government is also striving to address this issue by issuing temporary documents for stateless individuals in Sarawak.
Those who fall prey to online scams are akin to the victims of the mystical tiger Ramaung of Iban legend, as said by Deputy Sarawak Premier Dato' Amar Douglas Ugah Embas. According to the legend, the Ramaung, in seeking his victims, would bait them with fruits or other jungle foods called taju. Ugah likened the legend to victims of online scam, calls to convey his worries over the growing number of scam victims in the state.
He said this after receiving a courtesy call from the State Police Commissioner, Datuk Mancha Atta, at his office at Wisma Bapa Malaysia earlier today. Thus, he reminded the people to not fall easily to the promises of great rewards made in any such calls to avoid falling victim to the Ramaung. Meanwhile, during the visit, Mancha, accompanied by 5 senior officers, briefed Ugah on the latest security and crime situations in the state. Ugah commended the police for their commitment, loyalty and sacrifices in keeping the safety and security of Sarawakians. Later, Ugah also received a courtesy call from the newly appointed Director of the Sarawak Regional Office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Feni Anak Nuli. Hailing from Sri Aman, she was formerly the Malaysian ambassador to Peru.
The recent incidents of young children perishing in cars due to heat-related injuries are very alarming. In many instances, the explanation given is that parents or caregivers simply left them behind unintentionally. According to data released by the Royal Malaysian Police (PDRM) from 2020, there have been a total of 12 recorded cases. 3 cases occurred in 2020, 2 in 2021, 5 last year, and 2 cases this year.
In this regard, the Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, said her ministry is committed to preventing the recurrence of such incidents. Efforts include raising awareness through mass media channels such as airing infographics offering tips to prevent children from being left in cars. Additionally, she said her ministry aims to enhance awareness campaigns specifically targeted at parents.
Justru pelaksanaan program atau kempen ini bukan sahaja memerlukan sokongan berterusan pihak kerajaan, malah sokongan dan keprihatinan masyarakat. Semua pihak perlu memainkan peranan masing-masing bagi menangani permasalahan ini, khususnya ibu bapa.
She emphasized that her ministry consistently engages in active collaboration and information exchange with various agencies, including the Royal Malaysian Police PDRM, the Ministry of Education MOE, the Ministry of Health MOH, the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, as well as other governmental and private entities, including non-governmental organizations. Meanwhile, Nancy reported that the Department of Social Welfare has formulated safety guidelines for registered childcare centres, or TASCAs. She noted that these guidelines have been issued and will come into effect on April 1st, 2024.
Bagi tahun 2024, KPWKM melalui JKM melaksanakan program advokasi perkhidmatan TASCA yang akan dilaksanakan di seluruh negara bermula April 2024.
She said the program is intended to act as a manual for registered childcare operators, emphasizing the importance of ensuring children's safety in their premises. Additionally, she said that these measures aim to prevent parental oversight and maintain constant awareness of children's presence within childcare facilities.
Husbands or family members should not leave mothers experiencing baby blues or postpartum depression alone at home, especially if the mother shows symptoms such as changes in attitude, speech and behaviour. According to Women, Family and Community Development Minister Dato Sri Nancy Shukri, it should not be taken lightly as it can pose dangers to those around her.
We cannot take it lightly because some people, mungkin they are not used to that kind of situation. Mungkin dia rasa macam, it is something normal. Tapi actually that was not the first case. They've got other cases juga yang mungkin ada orang yang tidak dapat menerima bahawa that was the yang ibu meroyan punya problem. It is very worrying because especially bila you have somebody like that, you cannot leave your not just anak, whoever dalam rumah tu seorang dengan this kind of people because they know more themselves. So we hope that family pun sedarlah.
Commenting further, she said postpartum depression is not something new. Therefore, all parties, especially families involved, need to play their respective roles to ensure the well-being of the mother is maintained after giving birth.
Tapi, ibu meroyan is not a new case. Dia sebab perkataan meroyan dah lama ada kita dengar kan, orang kampung meroyan kata kita. Tapi meroyan orang kampung dia always terjaga last time because somebody will always be there. Especially memang ada immediate family selalu ada bersama kan. So they can come in different forms. It's quite sad lah, especially.
On Sunday, the nation was left in shock after a 32-year-old mother in Masai, Johor, killed her 18-month-old son by slitting his throat and is now under doctor's observation. She has also been remanded for 7 days starting yesterday, and the case is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder.
In a gesture of appreciation of the sacrifices made by security personnel on duty during the Hari Raya Aidilfitri celebration, the Sarawak government has prepared 12,000 Aidilfitri contribution packages for 11 agencies. Minister of Women, Childhood and Community Wellbeing Development Sarawak, Dato Sri Fatimah Abdullah said these includes the Malaysian Armed Forces ATM, Royal Malaysia Police, Malaysian Fire and Rescue Department, as well as other uniformed bodies. The contribution will be presented by the Premier of Sarawak, Dato Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tunopeng, during a handover ceremony on March 20th.
Diadakan di Wisma Bapa Malaysia macam biasa.
Kedua.
Yang Mak Berhormat Premier akan merasmikan majlis tersebut jam 11 pagi.
This is an annual program by the state government in collaboration with various parties, aiming to appreciate the service and contribution of frontline personnel, especially those serving in border areas.
Head of State Tun Pehin Sri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar received a courtesy call from the new Sarawak State Health Department JKNS Director Dr. Veronica Luga at Astana Negeri Sarawak earlier today. The courtesy visit to the Governor aimed at discussing the future direction of JKNS and related topics marked Dr. Veronica's first since her recent appointment as the Director on February 7th. Dr. Veronica made history as the first Dayak woman to be appointed Director of JKNS by the Malaysian Ministry of Health, and she took over the mantle from Dr. Ui Chu Hak, who retired on January 31st. Before her current appointment, Dr. Veronica served as the State Health Deputy Director for Public Health. She subsequently assumed the role of Acting State Health Director following Dr. Ui's retirement. Now, multinationals company RollsRoyce has supplied and commissioned 4 of its MTU Kinetic power packs to EXPEDITE Rawak, the Malaysian division of the Global Foundry Group for specialty semiconductor applications recently. According to project engineer of RollsRoyce Solutions Asia Pte Limited, Elvin Rios, the reliable critical load support provided by the current MTU Kinetic power packs has also resulted in EXPEDITE Rawak engaging with RollsRoyce for an additional unit. Right after the break, Malaysia mouths on downsizing the Commonwealth Games if it is hosting the game in 2026. And in global news, Vladimir Putin clinched record victory. Right here on TVS Nightline, stay tuned.
Vraiment.
Hello there and welcome back. Now, in the spirit of Ramadan, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim calls upon Muslims nationwide to bolster their self-discipline and to extend a helping hand to the less fortunate. He emphasized that Ramadan, beyond its aspect of elevating worship, serves as a platform to fortify and refine strength, faith, morals and discipline.
Kenapa guna masuk madrasah, tetapi dia sama juga kedudukan dia macam tahun-tahun lalu. Masuk madrasah, maksudnya disekolahkan semula. Masuk sekolah, ada ujian. Tapi ujian kita tidak meningkat. Iman tidak meningkat, akhlak tidak meningkat, kekuatan semangat tidak meningkat, disiplin tidak meningkat. Sebab itu ujian Ramadan itu harus menghasilkan peningkatan.
At the same time, Anwar also emphasized that imbuing daily life with the spirit of Ramadan will lead to better control of the country's issues, leading to success that can be conveyed globally.
Ibadah itu memberikan makna yang lebih luas. Bagaimana boleh kita sempurnakan Ramadan, kemudian sambut dengan pembaziran yang luar biasa. Bagaimana kemudian tidak mempedulikan nasib masyarakat miskin. Ya. Bagaimana dalam Ramadan masih lagi kita teruskan amalan mengambil komisen dan rasuah. Jadi maknanya penghayatan ini tidak ada.
Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim also noted the decree of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Sultan Ibrahim, urging fasting Muslims in the country to avoid wastefulness during this sacred month.
A downsized Commonwealth Games is being mulled by the Olympic Council of Malaysia (OCM) after the Australian state of Victoria pulled out last year due to spiralling costs. Since then, the Commonwealth Games Federation (CGF) has been struggling to find a new host. Despite this consideration, OCM Secretary General Mohammed Nasifuddin Najib said the final decision would lie with the federal government.
We also feel that this can be a downsized games. For example, it doesn't have to be 15 spots, can be 10 spots, you know, and then we have a smaller opening and a smaller closing. Jadi semua tu boleh dibincangkan, cuma ialah kita biar keputusan ni datang daripada kabinet.
Malaysia last week stated that the CGF offered an attractive investment of £100 million to support hosting the Games. However, the CGF has also suggested that Malaysia will not be the only country that could potentially stage the Games in 2026. There could also be a possibility that the neighbouring country of Singapore will co-host the Games together.
Dan saya boleh kongsi memang Singapore tengah lihat sebab mereka pun berfikiran ada peluang juga untuk mereka menjadi tuan rumah. Ada kemungkinan kita boleh bekerjasama dengan Singapore, tapi juga ada kemungkinan yang Singapore boleh buat keputusan untuk ambil alih untuk menjadi penganjur. Dan kita terlepas peluang ini.
Song Sang-woon, economic advisor for CGS International, said a significantly scaled-down Games will be more doable but will still require a significant amount of money. A joint bid could be the only solution on paper, but will nevertheless require more infrastructure investment. There is also a time constraint to consider as the Games are slated to take place in 2026.
Russia's Electoral Commission said on Monday that President Vladimir Putin's record re-election result showed the country was united behind the longtime leader. Official results from the three-day ballot showed 71-year-old Putin winning a landslide with almost 76 million votes.
75 миллионов 932 тысячи 111 избирателей проголосовали за действующего главу государства. Это также рекордный показатель.
Putin was all but guaranteed to win re-election, having silenced or imprisoned all his major opponents. The Kremlin had cast the election as a moment for Russians to throw their weight behind the full-scale military operation in Ukraine, now in its third year. Putin's inevitable victory paves the way for him to become the longest-serving Russian leader in more than 2 centuries. In a victory speech late on Sunday, Putin vowed Moscow would resist outside pressure.
Никак не хотел нас запугать. Кто бы и как бы не хотел нас подавить, нашу волю, сознание. Ни у кого никогда, как я уже говорил, ничего подобного в истории не получалось. Сейчас не получилось и не получится в будущем. Никогда.
In power since 1999, Putin has cultivated a strong man image, telling Russians he is fighting to preserve Moscow's national identity he claims is under threat. His offensive in Ukraine has been accompanied by a huge crackdown at home, with the number of political prisoners in Russia rising fast. Thousands responded to the opposition's call to protest the election by forming long queues at polling stations, both inside and outside Russia. Ballots were also spoiled by green dye, and there were several incidents of voting booths being set on fire. Putin vowed that Russians who spoiled their ballots have to be dealt with and dismissed opposition protests as having no effect. The three-day vote, also held in Russian-occupied parts of Ukraine, saw a surge of deadly Ukrainian bombardments on Russian border regions. Authorities said Ukrainian attacks killed 11 people in Russia's Belgorod region in the last week.
At least 21 people were killed and 38 injured after a bus collided with a motorcycle and then a fuel tanker truck in Afghanistan. According to a spokesman from the provincial governor, the collision caused an immediate blaze, inflicting serious injuries to 11 of the 38 surviving victims.
او یو خزه پاتې وه بیا بیرته لاړم خزه مې موکا کړه نو څوک وتلی نور نیم موټر ټول وراسه نو ماشومان چغې وهلې بیا هم کاږه دی ونه شو نو بیا لار لرې ودرېدو تر څو بیا موټر چې ویرلو انجن طالبانو موټر راغی رینجر بیا ویلو
The passenger bus was traveling from Herat to Kabul when it first collided with a motorbike carrying two people, killing both riders. The bus driver lost control and crashed with a tanker truck traveling in the opposite direction, sparking a fire. The accident killed 3 people on the tanker and 16 bus passengers. Traffic accidents are common in Afghanistan, due in part to poor roads after decades of conflict, dangerous driving on highways, and a lack of regulation.
Now wrapping up the Nightline, OpenAI has indicated that artificial intelligence AI video generation tool Sora will be available to the public later this year, 1 month after unveiling its technology. After ChatGPT for generating text and DALL-E for generating images, OpenAI is now looking to fine-tune its new artificial intelligence tool capable of generating videos.
The American startup caused yet another sensation last month when it presented a new form of video-generating artificial intelligence called Sora. Using a simple prompt of just a few words, the tool is capable of proposing a video sequence lasting several seconds, generated entirely automatically. Examples shown featured landscapes as well as animals or even human beings. While it's rather impressive to watch, none of the images are real. Chief Technology Officer of OpenAI, Mira Murati, announced that this easy-to-use technology will be made available to the public before the end of 2024, although precise details about subscription formats or an exact launch date were not given. The company is planning to build in certain limitations and restrictions. Sora will reject requests that are too violent and will not generate hateful images or sexual content. OpenAI also promises not to use images of celebrities. This is fundamental, as the availability of this type of tool also raises ethical issues at a time when fake news is on the rise.
See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates both locally and internationally. For more headlines, anytime, anywhere, just head on to our official website at tvsarawak.my or follow us on our social media platforms. Those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Handy Gui. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.